everyone, welcome to a new video, welcome to my channel. My name is Micah, welcome to my hobby channel Floating in Dreams, where I like to talk about all things fashion and makeup. And today I have another makeup related video for you because we're still in the midst of eyeshadow palette extravaganza here on my channel. And that means we're only talking about eyeshadow palettes throughout the entire month of August. Because in case you didn't know, I'm a bit of an eyeshadow palette obsessed person, and I just like to rant, rave, and mooch about all things eyeshadow palettes, so I decided to dedicate the entire month to it. And if we're talking favorites, you know, if you've seen the title of this video as well, that I really like Urban Decay Naked palettes. That's like one of my favorite formulas. I know, unpopular opinion, but where some people complain about it being sheer and it's not doing too much, I find it to be buildable, easy to work with, easy to blend, and I can build up a look without it being too overwhelming too quickly. So for me and my makeup aesthetic and what I like to do on a day-to-day, Urban Decay Naked palettes have just been very perfect for me. However, there are 10 palettes out in the line right now, and they are not created equal. Of course, some of these have been discontinued and they seem to be churning new ones out left and right. Not sure if you've been following some makeup channels on Instagram, but I saw just yesterday that they're coming out with the Urban Decay Naked Cyber in September, apparently. So there's another new Naked palette coming, so I was like, I'll just get this out of the way. A lot of these, of course, you can no longer buy. Some of these were discontinued, sometimes with a lot of fanfare. Some of them have also sort of been discontinued quite quietly, and they just go on sale and then they're gone. So I decided to film this video in a top 5, bottom 5 sort of format. Because we've got exactly 10 here. I bought all 10 of them that have come out throughout the years, and I thought that 10 was a nice equal number to split it halfway, to discuss with you how I would not necessarily rank these, because I don't think I can pick like an all-time favorite Naked palette. That would be a little bit difficult. Plus, what I'm not including in this video are the basics palettes. So the Ultimate Basics, those little mini palettes that they've come out with. I also didn't buy all of those mini palettes over time because I felt they were a bit superfluous compared to the larger palette I very often already owned. So for something like the Petite Heat I never got, and the Urban Decay Naked 3 Mini hasn't been released yet here. It was supposed to come August 1st, but I haven't been able to find it either online or in store yet. So that's also another reason why I didn't want to include any of the mini palettes that I do own, because I was like, we just stick to the larger 12 pan palettes. I've got a nice rounded off, even number. And yeah, then we can just have lots of things to chat about. So let's just get cracking. Because I want to end the video on a positive note, we're going to start with the bottom 5 first. And I think if you're familiar with my content, then I think you know where this is gonna go. Because there's a couple of solid favorites when it comes to Urban Decay Naked palettes that I hold near and dear to my heart. And there's a couple that I really don't feel too fussed about. Now, if I had to rank all of my Naked palettes, the one that would definitely go at the very, very bottom for me. So if I were to rank this would also go into the number 10 spot, but this is why it's also in my bottom 5. It's the Naked Cherry. And I think that with the Naked Cherry, it was like, that's the point where I really felt like Urban Decay was trying to stick with the trends, but they kind of failed miserably. Because what this is like a peach and berry sort of color story. So you get some pinks and you get some peaches. It has a couple of interesting shades. This is more of a duochrome over here. Also, some of these peachy shimmers are quite nice. And I really enjoyed the combination of the peach with the berry cherry kind of shades. I thought that was really, really pretty. But with this, by the time that this released, I had already tried Modern Renaissance. I think by this time I had already tried the Lime Crime Venus XL as well. And those to me are better berry, reddish, peachy tone palettes than this one is. So that's why this color story to me was just entirely superfluous. And the only reason why I still have this and keep it around is because it's an Urban Decay Naked palette. Else this would have been decluttered a long, long time ago, but I can't break up my Naked palette family. But this is, if I had to declutter one, it would definitely be this one, because the Naked Cherry just didn't do it for me. It just didn't. Now, if you are familiar with my content, then the next palette will not come as a surprise to you that it's in my bottom 5, and it's the OG Naked one. So the original Naked palette is one that I have had for a very long time. So a lot of people have used their Naked palettes to bits and have absolutely wrecked them, and there's pan in every shade, and mine looks barely used. Because guess what? It is. I never really reached for this palette even when it was all the hype and it was one of the very few eyeshadow palettes in my collection. It just wasn't one I grabbed for. The only shades that I liked in here a lot were like these 4 down towards the end. I never really went into these very light shades. I don't really like the gold shade in here that's half baked. It just wasn't perfect for me. It just... I'm not really into bronzes, and this to me is a very bronzy toned eyeshadow palette, so that's why the Urban Decay Naked Original definitely gets to go into my bottom 5. And this is also one that I no longer keep around in my actual makeup storage. I kind of have this in my makeup museum, like memory box. This is another one that I could never declutter, but it is one that, you know, I never reached for it when I first got it almost a decade ago. And I have no inclination to reach for it anymore, but because it's such an OG classic and I own it, I'm not gonna declutter it. Now, next up, I think that it's nice to keep that sort of train going by talking about the Naked Reloaded. This is also in my bottom 5. This replaced the OG Naked palette, which I think that if this hadn't been marketed as a replacement for the OG Naked palette, I think it could have worked better. It could have gotten a lot more hype, but this is again one where I feel that Urban Decay just kinda didn't hit the mark. You do get this like corally shade. My favorite shade is actually Dreamweaver, which is this very flaky, shimmery taupe, because it's a more cool toned one. I do like some of the mattes in here, especially towards this end, like these mattes I quite like. It's got some like cooler tone shades, some warmer tone shades. But if you already own the Anastasia Beverly Hills Sultry, which came out before this, you already have all of these shades. So again, for me, the Urban Decay Naked Reloaded just wasn't perfect. It's got nice quality, but to be quite fair, this was actually one where I really ummed and ahed for a long time to try and figure out, do I want this? Is this something that I need in my life? And I definitely didn't buy it upon release like I've done with many of the other Naked palettes that have been released, because it just didn't really spark my interest, and I kind of bought it because it's a Naked palette. And I like it, but this is not like the first neutral palette I grab for in my collection if I want to do a neutral look. You know what I mean? Then 2 other discontinued palettes. I think actually all of these have been discontinued. I think so. And it's the Naked Smokey. This is the replacement of the Smokey palette that they did before this. And I actually wish that I had bought that one at the time, because that would have been better than this. But yeah, it's a smoky eye palette. It's pretty. I like these shades. However, I've said this many times about this palette. I am very fair-skinned, and I don't get anything in this palette that really allows me to blend things, like to do a good crease shade, for instance. I need something in between this brown and these 2 very light shades. So for me, I know I can like blend some of the brown with some of the light shades, and I can make it work. However, on me, all of these darker shades, like these 4, they pull very black on me. So this is one of those palettes that I'm just a little bit too fair to really make it work. However, one of the reasons why I could never declutter this is the shade Slanted and the shade Daggers. Like these like very sort of smoky, bluey grays. Those are my favorite kind of shades to create smoky eyes with. So I definitely can make a smoky look with this, and that's what I've used it before in the past. But when I use this, I tend to just go into those 2 shades, throw that on, put something else in the crease, and I kind of ignore the rest of the palette. So that's why this also had to go into my bottom 5, because there were just not enough shades in this that I can really make work. And then the final Naked palette in my bottom 5 would be the Naked Heat. Now don't get me wrong, I love the quality of this palette, but when it came to warm tones, you know how I feel about those. I'm not a huge fan. And I think that one of the palettes that I put in my top 5, I can get more use out of personally, because apart from warm tones, it also has some other tones that I much prefer. And this is just 12 shades of orangey, browny reds. For me, like with the original Naked palette, there really are just a couple of shades that I like. I like this end of the palette a lot better than I do these ones. In terms of warm tones from Urban Decay, this is just not my favorite, even though the quality of this is probably one of the better ones. I think it's been discontinued by now, so you can't get it. But I do really like the quality of the Naked Heat. It is, in terms of warm, fiery tones, one of my favorite palettes for sure. But if I look at all 10 of the palettes that I have here and what I like to do when it comes to makeup, there are other palettes that were released in the Naked line that I just like a bit better. So that's why the Naked Heat gets to go into the bottom 5. I'm very sorry. Moving on to the top 5, and OG viewers, this will come as no surprise to you, so that's why I'm going to get these out of the way first of all. The Naked 3, still one of my all-time favorite eyeshadow palettes till this day. I know a lot of people find this boring, unwearable, ashy, sickly looking. On me, with my fair skin tone, cool to neutral undertone, it's perfect. Mugshot is the perfect one and done eyeshadow. I love that shade. I love Trick for that rosy gold sort of moment. I really like this part of the palette. Again, I never really like these. Like, this just all looks the same on me. I can just not make that look very distinct. I do like Dust for an inner corner highlight, but the other shades I don't use all that much. But yeah, I really like the rosy taupiness that it has in this side of the palette. And Black Heart I do really like as a bit of liner. So Naked 3, top 5 for sure. And it's still for sale. And then of course, where would we be without Naked 2? This is quite possibly, if I had to pick a favorite Naked palette, it would probably be this one. Like, if I had to rank these from like top 10, like 10 to 1, then this would probably go into the number 1 spot. This is also a palette that has dips. I'm not sure if you can see it in this lighting. Like this you can see. So I've got a huge dent in Suspect. That's one of my favorite taupe shades in my collection. I like almost everything in this palette save for these two shades and the black. So for me, it kind of starts here and then it goes until Busted. That's what I like. I love YDK. That's a really good rose gold, but more cool toned rose gold if that's what you're looking for. Very often rose golds can be quite warm toned. Stay tuned if you want to see this look come together on my face on Tuesday, because this is a new Catrice palette that I'm very chuffed with. But I also quite like this like very Chopper. Like Chopper is a very sort of flaky shade. I've always loved that one too. So yeah, it's got a couple of really good shades. I don't mind putting shimmers in my crease. And then this palette is just perfect. However, it's been discontinued and Natasha Denona Glam is actually very similar to this. So that would be my recommendation. If you're looking for this kind of color story, don't go out of your way on eBay and pay way too much money for this. Natasha Denona Glam. And now you may know, if you know a little bit what has come out in the Urban Decay Naked line, I think that they have really been killing it in recent years, you could say. So in terms of a warm toned eyeshadow palette from the Naked line that I really love and that I just got a ton of use out of, the Naked Honey. It's been discontinued. It's been going on sale. Maybe you can still get it off like an official website, but it's been going on sale a lot. And this palette is another one of those palettes that looks interesting because of two shades, but if you cover this up, you just get a lot of mustardy browns. And I love mustards on me. Like, their warm tones I can actually get away with quite easily. This works really well as a neutral palette on me. The Urban Decay Naked Heat is really pretty, but it looks very fiery, very glam, and a little bit in your face, especially because I'm very fair, so it's very sort of stark against my skin tone, whereas this kind of blends in a little bit more, and in the fall time this eye look just turns into yumminess every single time I use it. Plus, it doesn't go too deep. I know that for some people that's the absolute worst, but I'm fair, so if this would have had anything that's deeper than this brown or that shade, it would probably not have worked as well for me. This is another Naked palette where I can use every single shade, and that's personally something I really like about this one. So yeah, the Urban Decay Naked Honey is one that I was very happy they did, because it is one of my favorite like warm tone palettes that I can still make a neutral look out of. But they've just came out this spring with the Wild West, and this was the palette I was sort of umming between the Naked Heat and this one, whether it should go into the top 5 or the bottom 5. It's sort of like a toss-up between these two for me, but the Urban Decay Naked Wild West just has a couple of things going for it that I really like. I just finished using this palette earlier in the month, so I haven't really talked about this much on my channel, but this just has a couple of cool tones, and it's got teal. And if you know anything about me, taupe and teal are my favorite shades, and you get some like reddish brownish shades. So for me, the way this works in my brain is that with these shades and some of these, I can do what I can also do with the Naked Heat, but then I get a couple of shades here that really allow me to play around with the palette a lot more. So when I played around with this, for sure I did a look with these like teals and cool tones that it has, and I did a look with these warm tones, and I really like the quality of this. It's very consistent with the later quality that Urban Decay has been coming out with, and I really like the looks that I just came up with. The teal is really lovely. I really like this like grayish tone here as well, and I still really also want to do a warm toned look with a pop of teal on the lower lash line, because that's of course something you can also do with this palette. So for me, it's just a palette that has a lot of options, and very often with warm tone palettes, I feel I don't have those options because it just doesn't really work that way. So for me, the Wild West is a bit more perfect than the Naked Heat, which is why this gets to go in the top 5. And then another more recent release, this came out at the end of 2020, is the Naked Ultraviolet. This is another palette from Urban Decay that not a lot of people liked. If you're really into vibrant indie singles, this is not going to cut it for you. It's very sheer, it's very buildable, and you don't get a purple matte. The only purple matte you get is this very light lavender shades. These are all shimmers, and I can understand why people say like it's not perfect for them because of that. However, I really enjoyed working with this palette. It was really wearable, and for it being purples, it was still neutral enough that, you know, you can wear this to work and wear it in many different environments without it looking too makeup-y or overly done, which with purple, it can look weird quite quickly, I find at times. So that's why I really appreciated it. You get some peachy shades, which remind me a lot of the shades you get in the Naked Cherry. And like the Naked Cherry, what I liked about that palette is how the warmer tones or the lighter tones and the colorful shades combined. And that's what I like about this too. It's not too monochromatic, and I actually really liked this VR shade. It's a really nice, like, it's got a bit of a flip to it, and I feel it goes really well with the purples because of that. And I also really like Dace, which is like a peach to gold. Lucid has like a green flip to it. So you get some duochromes and interesting shades, and then you just get six purples that I feel really tie the palette together. And for me, like, this is a liner, this in the crease, like I had no issues working with things that way. So it really gave me a lot that I really liked, and that's why the Naked Ultraviolet, even though it got quite a lot of flack and a lot of people didn't like it, I really rate this highly, and I think you can still buy it. And if you're looking for a purple palette that has some neutrals in, then this is a really good one, I think. It's not my favorite purple palette. That title goes to the Viseart Violet Étendue, but this was my number 2 when I ranked my purple palettes. So I'll link that video down below in case you would like to see it. I have, I think, reviews up well, maybe not with some of my older Urban Decay palettes, but I think I have reviews up with most of these over on my blog. So I'll also be putting all of those links in the description box. So if you want to see swatches and looks and things like that, then definitely check that out. But I figured I could do a nice little roundup video where I showcase all 10 of these and tell you which ones are my picks. And of the ones that are in my top 5, I think you can still get most of it as well. Everything else has been discontinued. So for me, and what I like and my makeup tastes, the way Urban Decay Naked palettes are going has me really excited, because it goes very well with what I look for in eyeshadow and what I like to do in terms of makeup. So that's why these palettes are just some of my favorites till this day. I know, who am I? Like, I'm the only person on the planet at this point, but I really like these. And I know it's not the YouTuber kind of thing to like, but yeah, I really like these. So that's why I wanted to give them a grand old rave. And I would like to thank you very much for watching today's video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did enjoy this video. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more by me. I make 3 new videos a week typically, but currently I'm doing 4 for the entire month of August. So I've got a bit of extra content coming your way. And we're talking about pretty much eyeshadow palettes for the rest of the month. So if you'd like to stay tuned for more, then I would like to have you back here. And have a great day, everybody. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.